March 18th. Honestly, don't have a ton to talk about today. Just a little midweek news update. There has been one card since we last spoke on Sunday, and that happened on Sunday night with Callum Walsh returning in New York City and knocking out Dean Sutherland in one round. So we're going to talk about that. We've got some other stuff. We got the entire Canelo Alvarez William Scull card got announced. There's reports that Gervonta Davis Lamont Roach could be rematching on June 21st in Las Vegas. It's a very quick turnaround. George Kambosos has a new opponent. Alicia Baumgardner signed with Jake Paul as MVP. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. So we're just going to hop right into it. The first thing, this card in New York City. So this was by 360 Promotions, which is Tom Loeffler's promotion, on UFC Fight Pass. And I enjoyed it. It was one of those cards where it's not like the biggest card in the world, but every fight had something a little bit interesting. The first two fights in the card were pro debuts. I thought that Donna Kiri looked really good over 4 rounds. It was a pretty fun fight. And then Sean O'Brady, I think is how you say it, he did not look as good. He actually had a draw in his fight, and I thought that he was lucky to get a draw. He was a lot bigger than his man, but which was Jefferson Almeida. But Almeida just kept on coming at him and seemed to be more accurate and was landing shots over the top on O'Brady and just was kind of getting, kind of pushed around a little bit. And he just seemed like he got thrown into the deep end a little bit too early and didn't look good. And he was kind of surprised he didn't get the win at the end, but I thought that he was lucky to get a draw. But yeah, I mean, he was a highly touted amateur prospect. He said he had huge support in the arena. They talked about how he's Irish, but he lives in New York City, and he's got a huge support system there. He's a big fan base. Sold a lot of tickets. They've got, he's like on like the front page of newspapers there that he's debuting. It's just like all this crazy stuff, and it's pretty crazy. And then we also had on the prelims, they had Cletus Seldon versus Yais Gabriel Solano. I thought Solano had won. Seldon is a very fun character. His name is the Hebrew Hammer. He was pretty funny, but I thought that Solano won a lot of the rounds. I had him winning, I think 77-75. Yeah. So a pretty competitive fight. It was really a lot of action. I just thought that Solano was doing the cleaner work, even though Seldon was the guy who was probably throwing more and coming forward. But yeah, pretty good 8-round fight. It was like a WBA, I think, Feda Latin title, whatever. But yeah, some pretty good fights on those prelims. And then go to the main card. Arguably, maybe the biggest talking point of the craziest piece of controversy is Thomas Carty, who in the second round of the fight steps on his knee weird or something, and his knee just pops out. And he is trying to keep on getting up, and he keeps on falling over, and yeah, I was shocked the ref was letting him fight. There was 3 times he got put down. The third time was actually a knockdown. I don't think it was he got knocked down because he was hurt. It was just that he was, staggering around the ring because of his leg, and the guy landed a punch as he was going down. So it got counted as a knockdown because that's the final blow that pushed him down. But the first 2 times were not knockdowns. They were slips, and the ref let him get up. And I was shocked that the ref wasn't noticing. Like, dude, this guy clearly cannot fight. And unfortunately ended in a TKO loss for him. He retires after the second round. Is very emotional. He's crying. It took him a long time to get out of the ring. And you feel for him because this was a big moment for him. He was 10-0 with 9 knockouts. Huge fan base from Ireland. Their heavyweight prospect. And he still is a prospect. It was just a freak accident. But this is his debut in the U.S., New York City, Madison Square Garden. And he's in there with DeJuan Calloway, who is 409 pounds, which is unbelievable. So it was already, set up to be an interesting fight. And, just to see it end like that sucked. But I mean, he was that knee, he was not doing good. He was just getting thrown around the ring, not even by punches, but just staggering around. But he had heart. He kept on trying to get up, and he kept on getting up, and he kept on trying to fight. But you just couldn't fight. I did see today that Calloway's going to fight Gergen Hovhannisyan, who's 7-0, who's also 300 pounds in April. So that's a 700-pound fight there. That should be pretty fun. And, I mean, Calloway does get awarded a win here, probably the biggest win of his career. So he'll get to move on and get a good opportunity next against another undefeated heavyweight prospect. But I'm hopeful. I know we're going to see Thomas Carty come back. It wasn't even a real loss, but it will go on his record, and he's no longer undefeated. Then you had Emmett Brennan and Kevin Cronin, who rematched. I didn't see their first fight, but I know apparently it was competitive and it was controversial that Brennan won. This fight was close. I had it 96-94. All the judges had it 98-92, which to me seemed quite wide. But, Brendan got the win here again. And I thought that he deserved it in a close fight. It was a very competitive, pretty entertaining scrap. I feel like a lot of the times you see domestic guys where they just kind of meet their match, and they're just and not just domestic, everywhere. It just seems that in American and world boxing, you see that, at the world level in championship fights. But this, I feel like in like Ireland and the UK and stuff, you really see it on like the grassroots level. And, I thought that this was a competitive match, and they're still very closely competed with each other. Co-main event, you had Firgo McCrory and Keenan Carbajal, which was easily the fight of the night. Super entertaining. McCrory was, honestly dominating most of the fight against Carbajal and was beating him up. And Carbajal got deducted a point in the second round for holding, and he kept on holding a little bit. It was excessive. The ref didn't play around. McCrory gets dropped big time in the fourth round, shocking knockdown. He's like, oh, wow, he's hurt. Holds on for the rest of the round. Comes back, continues to win a lot of the rest of the fight. And then I think he scored a knockdown in round 7. And then round 8 gets the stoppage win. So really entertaining scrap. Back and forth, I guess, just because Carbajal was able to land that knockdown. He had some moments, but a great performance from McCrory coming off the title loss to Lamont Roach. And I don't know if he's necessarily going to be a world champion, but it's a good performance. And he'll probably, if he keeps on winning, get himself a world title shot, or at least, some other good names. But it was a really fun fight to watch. And then he gets to the main event with Callum Walsh, who just blows out Dean Sutherland. He's a big puncher. And, just every shot he was landing on him just hurt Sutherland, and Walsh didn't get touched at all. And just dispenses him in, 2 minutes, walk-off KO. Brilliant stuff. I really want to see Callum Walsh tested. Now, do we need, a 50-50 fight? No, even though I've said it a million times, I'm going to keep saying it. Him and Xander Zayas at the theater MSG makes so much sense. They're both young, undefeated, 154 prospects to rising stars to now contenders. They both have good rankings, regional belts to put on the line. They're both New York. They have some connections with Puerto Rico and Ireland, and I think that they sell a ton of tickets. I'll easily sell it out. Zayas already does that, and I'm sure Walsh sold a really good amount on Sunday. But that fight just makes all the sense in the world to me. Do we need it? No, I think it's one that Zayas should win, but Walsh would be his toughest test as well. But I need to see Walsh in there with some real guys. Get him in. Not somebody that's like, oh yeah, this guy's done this and that, and it's gonna be a 10-round fight. I need to see like a 60-40 fight for Walsh, which I don't know if they can deliver for him yet, but hopefully we'll see that. But it was a really good performance, really good show. I enjoyed it. This Canelo Alvarez Williams Scull card, so I've seen some people kind of hating on it. I think it's pretty good, to be honest. I think I have a history of every time I see a card, I think it's good if it has at least a few fights that I like. But I think that this one genuinely is a pretty good card. You've got 4 main events again. It's only 6 fights, which it's actually a little bit more than I was expecting, because remember, this is going to be U.S. primetime, so it's going to be starting late in the U.S. And if they want to get a good number, you don't want to start the card at 5 p.m. here. You want to start at 8 p.m. And I'm sure that they'll do the main card starting at 8 p.m. and the Brian Leon and the Marco Verde fights will be on the prelims. But I think this is a really good little fight card. So like I mentioned, you have Brian Leon, who I looked at. I think he's 6-0 with 6 KOs, so he's perfect to put on the prelims. I'm not sure if he's trained by Eddie Reynoso or not, but I think he's Mexican. But a pretty good prospect to just throw on there. And then you got Marco Verde, who's obviously an Olympian. He did have technically his pro debut on an IBA card last year, but he hasn't had his real sanctioned pro debut. This would probably be it, and he is also trained by Eddie Reynoso, so it makes sense to put him on this card. I don't think that he's been signed by anyone, so I'm sure he will soon, unless he's going to be working with Turkey, which would be crazy if Turkey himself got an Olympian to fight exclusively on Riyadh season cards, and we see him sign with TKO, their first homegrown superstar. Anyways, you get into the big fights. Badu Jack versus Ryan Rozicki. This is a fight. Ryan Rozicki's been waiting for his title shot for so long. Obviously, when Mikhailian was the champ, he wasn't necessarily – he was just – I don't know what was going on with him, but he had constant reasons why he wasn't fighting. And a lot of that was because he was promoted by Don King. He had injuries, whatever reason. I think they had 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 different fight dates fall out. Rozicki got a interim title fight with Peralta, which was a draw, so he doesn't get any closer there. Badu Jack, champion in recess. He was going to go to Bridgerweight. waited out for a while. He's been fought in 2 years. And, kind of thought, okay, well, it doesn't seem like a lot's going on there. I'll just go back to cruiserweight. Mikhailian steps down. He's not really doing so. I think the WBC may have even pushed him out. But it's now Jack versus Rosicky, which was ordered. Didn't really hear a lot about it. And now we see here it's going to be on a Saudi card. And the reason why I'm mainly super excited that they're doing this fight is, one, I think it'll be a good fight. But two, I'm excited for it because now we know that Badou Jack is in with Riyadh season, and I think he'll probably win this fight. And even if not, Rosicki's fighting on their card. And that means that you've got all three champions at cruiserweight fighting under Turkey's banner. And because we're doing that, that means it's much more likely we'll get an undisputed champion within the year. And I know we've been saying this for so long with cruiserweight. We're started. Zerto and CBS unified, and Zerto's now the WBO and WBA champion. But we got to get to undisputed. Big worry has been, like, at least for me, is that, okay, Opatai and Zerto can fight, not rematch, but can unify. And then what about, like, Mikhailian? Like, are they going to fight him? Now Mikhailian's out of the picture. Jack is in, and Jack is in with Saudi. So I love this plan. I'm not. They haven't said anything about, winner of this is going to fight Jai Opatai or Zerto Ramirez, winner of that. But I'm sure that is the plan. So I'm excited to see it because this is a division that doesn't have a ton of big names, and because of that, I want to see a unified champion, someone really stick out. Martin Bakuli, F.A. Ajagba, again, an amazing heavyweight fight that I actually think is closer now that we've seen Bakuli lose to Parker and get knocked out so early. He's coming off a knockout loss only 70 or so days later. You don't really see that a lot. And, I mean, Ajagba was somebody that before was saying, he's probably going to be a pretty good underdog. Obviously, he's got a good chance. He's still a top 10, top 15 heavyweight, but Bakuli is the boogeyman. And now it's, okay, how much of Bakuli is still the boogeyman? Because that loss still has a lot of asterisks with it. He took that fight on 2 days' notice when he was way overweight and out of camp, and he flew in and he didn't get there until 4. He didn't go to bed until 4 in the morning, the day of the fight. I mean, there was just so many other factors. And he was in there with Joseph Parker, who, had been in a full camp and was maybe one of the biggest fights of his life. And there was just so many different, factors playing into that defeat that, how much of that was the real Bakuli and how much of it was a Bakuli. We shouldn't really take too much out of that loss. We're going to find out on May 3rd. This was meant to be in Times Square. They switched that out with Teofimo Lopez, Arnold Barboza, which I think is a brilliant play. I think that fits that card a lot better. And then you have Bakuli Ajagba on this one, which I think makes a lot of sense. We know that this will not be an IBF eliminator anymore. The IBF said, nope, Bakuli just got knocked out. We're not going to put him in that position. The fight is still going to go through. They may get an eliminator with someone else. I'm not sure. It'll still be for a big ranking, and the winner of this will still be in a good shot for a title shot. But, no, it will not be an eliminator, I don't think. And I'm kind of surprised it's still happening just because, like I said, Bakuli was just knocked out and it seemed like it wouldn't. But, Turkey wants him to return. Bakuli, I'm sure, wants to return. Ajagba still needs an opponent. So, they're going to still do it. And it's still a great heavyweight fight. And because Bakuli is now his armor's been pierced. I know he lost a while ago to Michael Hunter, but that was a while ago. Now it's been pierced recently. I think that makes the fight with Ajagba more competitive, although I do still pick Bakuli. In the co-main event, you have Jaime Munguia versus Bruno Soares 2. I'm actually going to say that again. Bruno Soares versus Jaime Munguia 2. Now, on the poster, they have it as Munguia Soares. It should be Soares Munguia. I don't care. Munguia is undoubtedly still the bigger star, but in their last fight, Soares knocked him out cold. Well, not cold, but pretty much beat him. He should be the A side, undoubtedly. I don't know why he's on the right side of the poster. He should be on the left. I hope that they fix this. I remember when Usyk Fury 2 was first announced, they had Fury and versus Usyk 2, which everyone was like, hold on, this doesn't make any sense. And then they fixed it. I hope they do the same because I don't know. It's not a big deal. They're still going to fight. A side, B side doesn't really matter, but give Soares his flowers. And then, of course, in the main event, you have Canelo Alvarez, William Scull. Not as competitive as the fights on the undercard, but what can you expect? Canelo's going to get the IBF belt back. He's going to be undisputed champion once more and go into that fight with Terrence Crawford at in the fall, at September 13th at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. Let's go, man. So I like that card. What a weekend of boxing we have. Friday you're going to have Ryan Garcia, Rolly Romero, Devin Haney, Jose Ramirez, Teofimo Lopez, Arnold Barboza Jr. Saturday, you're going to have Canelo Alvarez, William Scull, Bruno Soares, Jaime Munguia 2, Martin Bakuli, F.A. Ajagba, Badou Jack, Ryan Rosicki. And then Sunday, you're going to have Naoya Inoue, Ramon Cardenas, and Rafael Espinoza, Edward Vasquez. Those are was that 9 top level boxing matches. They're competitive world titles or world title level. Just a fantastic weekend for the sport coming up. Maybe one of the best ever. 3 separate cards. And you got New York City, Riyadh, and Las Vegas. Can it get better than that? So I'm very excited for that weekend to start off May. May is always a big month for the sport, and it seems like we're going to get the biggest events all up front. Not to mention we also have UFC Des Moines that weekend, which is another, really, really good fight night card. So that'll be fun to throw in there as well. And I think there's a BKFC card on Friday and a PFL card on Thursday. So you're going to have your own little smaller MMA and BKFC cards in addition to the big boxing events. But, this is going to be good. Speaking of Inoue, that fight they announced will be on ESPN at 10 p.m. right after Shohei Ohtani plays. He's on the LA Dodgers. They're going to be playing the Atlanta Braves. Let's go Braves. On the right before, and I saw today that Inoue was at a baseball game that Ohtani was playing at, and Ohtani kind of waved to him and stuff. So I think that they're trying to play into that. I'm not sure, but I believe Shohei Ohtani is Japanese. I know he's Asian at least, and I think he's a Japanese player as well. So they're trying to build off that, Japanese athletes in the U.S. Going back-to-back on primetime and, do a little thing there. But, hey, I mean, I'm excited for it. I'm excited for that fight. It's going to be a fantastic weekend. We mentioned Canelo Crawford. Dana White on promoting it, he was asked if he'll be promoting it. He says, I don't know. And he says Turkey still has his other obligations over the next 18 months. So it seems like Turkey is going to be doing his Riyadh Season Ring Magazine stuff with Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren, De La Hoya, Bob Arum, Ben Shalom, all those guys, working with their companies, using their fighters over the next year and a half because he's got deals with them. And then once those are all done, he's going to stop working with them and he's going to switch over to TKO, I guess, where that'll be his full focus. I'm not sure, but that's the way it sounds from Dana White. And as for if they're going to work with other promoters, he's like, I don't know. Like, it seems like they really don't have, the exact structure of everything totally down. And then you also had Turkey hinting at that the promoter and platform will be a surprise. So there it seems, okay, maybe he is planning for this to be the first TKO event. We know it's supposed to be in the fall. We know it's supposed to be a mega event. This would make sense. The surprise of who the promoter is, everyone would just expect it's like Eddie Hearn or, Frank Warren or Top Rank or Golden Boy or something like that. But, this seems like it'll be a event promoted by Dana White. And the platform, that's a surprise. We also know what that's going to be. It's going to be Netflix. We know that they're trying to get a deal signed. Both TKO Boxing and UFC are pursuing that. WWE already has it. It seems like TKO Holdings in general is trying to team up with Netflix, and that would make a lot of sense why they're, the surprising platform and promoter. But yeah, we're just going to see in the coming months. TKO is a very developing subject matter, and we'll keep on talking about it as it goes along. We mentioned at the top of the podcast that Gervonta Davis Lamont Roach 2 is being planned for June 21st in Las Vegas. So this is just a report. It's nothing official yet, and it's not that they've even signed anything or anything's, looking like it's finalized, and they said that they're eyeing that. Now, if I know one thing about PBC, it's that when they do announce or even report things like this, they end up getting delayed a bit, and we don't usually get to see it on that date or in that location. I mean, even when they announced Tank Roach the first time, it's meant to be December in Houston, I believe. And then it got moved to March in Brooklyn, and now we're here in June 21st in Vegas for the rematch. One thing I will say is that Tank looks like he is serious about doing 3 fights this year, and he says he wants to run it back soon. He was talking about end of May, and I was like, yeah, that's not going to happen, of course. But June 21st is pretty close to that. I would love if we got to see that rematch that soon. I mean, 3.5 months. I mean, they just fought a little bit over 2 weeks ago, and we're already hearing about the date, and we're just 3 months away from them running it back. That's fantastic. I've got no problems with them doing it at this date. I think that that's a perfect time to do it, not long later at all, and then Tank can still get another fight in at the end of the year, as can Roach. This is one that needs to be run back, and I'm so happy that seems like that's the plan. I did just see Igaz Klimas, who I believe promotes Lomachenko in addition to guys like Usyk and Janibek. And he says that the best opponent for Tank right now is a full Lomachenko. And he says full Lomachenko because, as we know, Loma's been struggling with an injury, and he won't be back until he has to defend his belt by some time in October for him to remain IBF champion. I don't know if that's likely. We'll talk about what's going on with the IBF belt in a second, but it seems that we're gonna get, or it seems that they are still gunning for the Tank fight, which is odd because they're the ones who initially were calling for it for a long time, and then Tank didn't want it. Now that Loma's older, Tank wants it, and Loma's team said, "I know he's going to pull out, and he's considering retirement." I don't know if we ever see Loma fight again, and if we do, I don't think it'll be with Tank. But prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. George Kambosos will now be fighting Jake Wyllie, who is 16-1 with 15 knockouts. Super lightweight contender. I saw that he lost like an 8-rounder by stoppage. So we're gonna see what this is. I know that it's on late day's notice, but already the fighter that they had him for with Dowd Jordan was not great. And this, I think, is a little bit worse especially because he's only going to be on a few weeks' notice, and it seems kind of echoes of Keith Thurman, Brock Jarvis, but maybe even less of. Wyllie may even be less qualified for this fight than Jarvis was. We'll see what really happens with it, but hey, at least, as long as we still get to see him fight, and he's huge in Sydney. He's sold tons of tickets over the past few years. I'm sure it'll be a sellout on Saturday, and we're going to get to see this one, or not just Sydney, but Australia. We're going to get to see this big fight. And then after this, they're fully saying it like, winner, George Kambosos, should he win, he will get Richardson Hitchens. That is what match we're trying to do. To be honest, I don't think that he deserves the title fight after this at all. It seems like what Kambosos has done for the last couple years is lose a fight, lose a title fight, go into one other fight, win that, and then get another title fight. He did it with Maxie Hughes, where he controversially beat him, then goes into the Loma fight, gets dominated. Now he's in a new division. He beats Jake Wyllie, and he gets to fight for the world title. I don't know about that. I don't mind Hitchens Kambosos. I think it'll sell really well. I think it should be a fun build-up and not a bad fight, but it's one that I think Hitchens still totally wins. I don't know if Kambosos will ever win a world title again, or if he deserves to even get the shot. But I'm looking forward to Saturday. Should be a good card down under. And then we've also got Alicia Baumgartner signs with Most Valuable Promotions. This is huge. I've been saying that MVP need to lock down another big fighter. I mean, they're getting a lot of fantastic prospects and such, but they need to get themselves like another world champion, and they did it. And it again pushes their agenda with supporting and pushing women's boxing up higher, more in importance and such. And I cannot wait to see what they do with her. I'll tell you right now, we're going to see her on July 11th in Madison Square Garden. There's no way that she won't be on that card. It's going to be the biggest women's card of all time on Netflix. We know that MVP is going to want to get some other world title fights on there. They've got Baumgartner. That's absolutely when she's going to make her debut. They didn't confirm or deny when ESPN asked them, but we know that that's the plan. As for who she fights, I'm not sure. I wouldn't be surprised if they try and do Baumgartner-Nicholson. I think that there's other people that Baumgartner could fight, but I'm not going to complain if they do that. One thing I will say is that Baumgartner and Serrano, undisputed champs at 126 and 130. I know Serrano's not undisputed anymore, but number one girls at those divisions, they have to have them fight at one point. I know that Baumgartner and Serrano, they don't have any beef with each other, and they were at signing day together and stuff, but that is a perfect fight for MVP to make. I know it's in-house, and they haven't made a lot of in-house fights, but you've got H2O Silva and Lucas Body. They're sure to rematch at some point. And now you've got Serrano and Baumgartner. I would absolutely love to see them fight. That'd be a huge fight. It's one of the biggest fights for either of them out there. Let's make it happen. But this is really big for MVP and really big for Baumgartner because she hasn't, really gotten the best promotional push over the last couple of years and has had her issues with her PED busting and stuff. So I'm excited to see the work they do together. But I think it all starts July 11th. She could be in the co-main event defending her undisputed titles. Hopefully somebody else is in the co-main event fighting Shadasia Green, and that's Claressa Shields, but we'll see if that happens. Okay, so the great prospect that is Kermel Moton just called out Amado Vargas. So Amado Vargas did have a fight on Saturday, I believe, which I saw that he won by majority decision, and some people said, didn't look that great. He's like a fun prospect to watch, but doesn't look like he'll amount to much, and that's why I think Kermel Moton called him out. We've seen them fight on the same card once or twice before. I love that. I love that Moton is calling out other prospects. He is unbelievably good, unbelievably talented. I want to see him tested. It's obviously way too early to throw him into the deep end with anyone, but fighting a guy like Amado Vargas, who is a name, who's another decent prospect, that Moten will win that fight. I think that's a fine move. I know people in boxing don't usually make those kind of fights, but why not? Let's do it. We had some fights announced in Japan. The first of which will be on May 24th. This is all from Kameda Promotions, I believe. We have Angelo Leo versus Tomoki Kameda for Leo's 126-pound IBF championship. This is a fight we've heard about for a while. I think it was supposed to happen at the end of March. Didn't happen then for whatever reason. This should be a good fight, but one that Leo should win, as he's as highly touted as everyone says he is. He should be able to win this. And then, he seems like he wants the big fight. So I want to see him with Nick Ball and Naoya Inoue. Whoever else is there at 126, Stephen Fulton, Rafael Espinoza. I want to see unifications in that division so bad. And then you've also got a doubleheader on May 28th, just 4 days later, which main event will see Yoshiki Takei defend his world title, WBO bantamweight, against Yudapong Tongdi. They were supposed to fight. I believe Tongdi it was the opponent on the Naoya Inoue card in January, and then Takei got injured for whatever reason. Not sure what exactly it was, but the fight was called off. He now gets to headline his own card. And I think that he's a pretty good fighter at 118. He should be able to win this. It should be a good fight. But, after that, I'm going to say it again. I won unifications. He will have defended that title 2 or 3 times. His fight against Daigo Higa was brilliant. He beat Jason Maloney for the belt, I believe it was. I think that the plan... Actually, no, I don't want unification. I want him to fight Tenshin Nasukawa. That's the plan that it seems like Taken and Kameda, I guess. I don't know who Takei is signed with, but it seems like that's the plan that they're cooking up in Japan, is to do Tenshin Nasukawa versus Yoshiki Takei. I'm totally fine with that plan. I think that Tenshin could beat him, maybe. I think it's a brilliant fight. So Takei get through this one, and then he's into a really big fight in Japan. And then you have Masanori Rikishi versus Eduardo Nunes for the vacant IBF Super Featherweight World Championship. I think this is a good fight. Anthony Kakachi vacated this belt to fight Lee Wood instead of Sugar Nunes. We now get to see this one. Sugar should win this one. Weird that there's no word from Matchroom on this yet. I know it's not their show, but still you'd expect them to at least announce it and say that it's happening, but I don't know. I just hope that there's a way to watch these cards. In the U.S. that doesn't work. I hope they put them on DAZN. I don't want to do some backwards VPN watching and stuff. I just want to watch it. But these are some good fights in Japan. I'm excited to see Sugar Nunes get his title fight. I've wanted to see Leo return for a while, and Takei is another very good fighter who've been waiting to see get back in there. So, yeah, pretty good little 3 fights in Japan over 5 days. It's weird that I think Kameda always does this. As of recent, at least, they've got, March, they have a 2-day doubleheader similar to the one that Taken did in October. It's just so interesting the way that they do their fights over there. Luis Alberto Lopez, or Venado Lopez, will return in Mexico March 29th. We heard this was happening, but it's now been announced a week and a half before. He'll be in there with Eduardo Montoya, which I'm going to be honest, I don't really know too much about. I think that Venado still looked really good in that Leo fight until he was knocked out, of course. So I think that we could see him come back into world title level. So once he gets through this one, come back. It's odd he's not on a Top Rank show. I don't know if Top Rank dropped him. I'd be a little bit surprised if they did, as he's had a pretty good title run with them. So I hope they bring him back. I hope they get him another good fight because, get this one in and then, into big fights again. I wouldn't even be mad at a rematch with Leo, honestly. It was such a good fight until then, until the big shot. Chris Eubank Jr. has accepted the 1 million quid bet from Eddie Hearn. So I don't remember. Did they say this in a press conference? I think that they may have, or Eddie Hearn said it afterwards. But Eubank accepted. I'm happy that Eubank gave money. Stuff, but does he really believe in winning? Really care about winning? You can see Ben. Ben very much believes he's gonna win and wants to win and cares about it. I don't know if we get the same thing from Eubank, but he's gonna put $1 million down. And, he's calling Eddie Hearn's bluff, so we'll see. I love whenever there's a bet online, extra stakes. It doesn't really change anything, but it just, adds some stakes to the game. Bam's next fight will be unification in the United States. I think that this is going to have to be Fumalele Kafu. It just doesn't make any sense because you've got Fernando Martinez is going to defend his WBA belt against Kazuto Ioka on May 11th. We know that. And then you've got Garcia and Bibliano fought for the vacant IBF belt in December. There wasn't able to be a winner. It was a draw. So they're going to rematch pretty soon. I'm not sure when, but I think I heard like sometime around June. I think it's going to be in the summer. They're going to rematch. And then you've got Fumilele Kafu, who was going to fight Chocolatito. That fell through. And now Kafu apparently already has a homecoming planned in Africa. So I don't really get what's going on with 115 and that, how they're saying it's going to be a unification. I mean, seriously, it has to be against Kafu, which I don't mind at all. It's a fight. It's a good unification fight, and it's one that Bam should win, certainly so. But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, he really has to fight Kafu. There's no one else for him to fight unless he moves into another division or something. But, I'm excited to see him return. Even though Bam just fought in November, there was only 3 rounds, and we need to see more Bam. He's such a talent. Yeah, I'm excited to see him return. I think that they wanted to do it in May, so we'll see if that still happens. I doubt it, but June, July, this would be a good time to see him come back. Brandon Lee returns in June, apparently. I just saw this on X. I can't remember who said it, but I think it may have been Brunch Boxing. But, yeah, he's an odd one. 140-pound contender. He's looked pretty good. He's got a good amount of support behind him. He's got a lot of hype. But then he hasn't fought a ton. He hasn't fought since Joe Joyce, Derek Chisora. He's had a lot of fights, but they're all like 8-rounders. And I don't know. I just want to see him come back big time. Weirdest part is I believe he's American, and he signed with Frank Warren. So I don't know, and they haven't really put him on a card since that one in July of last year. But I mean, hey, it's good to see that he's going to return soon. But almost a year later, I mean, I think he's good. I think he's talented. We got to see him go. Let's go. Let's do it. Yeah, so it's good to see him return, but he needs to be more active. Boxing is expected to be included in the 2028 Olympics. So, again, it's not anything confirmed, but the IOSC, I can't remember what it was. I don't really know how it works, but some Olympic board voted in favor of it and said that it's looking more optimistic. And we've heard this. We've heard that it's going over the last few months. It's gotten a little bit more likely that we're going to get to see the famous squared circle in LA in 2028, which is good. This is all good news. I really want to see this. I really want to see boxing in the Olympics. It's very important to the sport. It'd be a shame that if they took it out. I don't think that they should. So, yeah. Peter McGrail apparently has a brilliant fight planned for June, is what he says. This has to be Shabazz Massoud. That's what Eddie Hearn said he wants to make. That is a fantastic fight at 122 to make. They both have been on pretty good runs recently. I think it's a good fight. I think Massoud is the favorite. I also heard some people saying that this could be a doubleheader with Galal Yafai. I think he was supposed to be the main event for this April 19th card initially, but that didn't happen for whatever reason. If they do this in Birmingham, where Galal Yafai is from, as is Shabazz Massoud, a doubleheader there. I think he's ordered to fight for the WBC interim against Chiuwas. I think that's his last name. I would like to see him fight Kenshiro Taraji or like a champion, but that looks unlikely as Taraji is planning to move up to 115. But, I would like to see if I fight someone else. Saw that they were saying they don't even care about getting him a world title at 112 because they think he can move up so many divisions. Or maybe it's that they didn't care about him fighting for going for undisputed, which I get, but at least get him to a world title fight. I would like to see Galal Yafai on that card and McGrail Massoud because I think that's a brilliant fight. Joseph Parker is insistent on the WBO title, it seems. He said that he wants to fight for the world title. He says, I'll either fight Usyk for it, I'll fight for the vacant belt. And I say that he's insistent on the WBO because he is their interim champion, but he doesn't mention Daniel Dubois in there at all, saying, I'll fight Daniel Dubois. And I'm not saying he's scared of him or anything, but he may be a little bit upset and just kind of past Dubois, saying I don't want to fight him anymore. We had the opportunity and he didn't take it, whatever. It seems unlikely, which sucks because that's a good fight. But I do really want to see Parker fight for the world title, and it sucks because, you've got Usyk and Dubois, and there's a story there. They can have the rematch. It'll be for undisputed. But then also you're leaving Parker out, and his next fight has to be a world title fight. It'd just be ridiculous if it wasn't. And I don't want to see him fight Ajit Cabello because Cabello could beat him. And then Parker never gets back to his world title when he deserves that shot so bad. So I like to see Usyk Parker. And if that doesn't happen, it seems that even if Usyk and Dubois rematch, they're going to take the WBO belt away from Usyk, and it would become Parker versus whoever for the vacant belt. And in fact, Parker would probably just be upgraded and he would defend the belt. So I'm not really sure what the plan is, but yeah, I really don't know what the plan is with the heavyweight division right now, but we're going to find out soon enough, I hope. Emmanuel Navarrete versus Charlie Suarez and Gabriel Murataya versus Zaur Abdullayev looks set for May 10th in San Diego. This is what's being reported. Obviously, Murataya Abdullayev will be for the IBF interim lightweight title, and then Navarrete Suarez will be for the WBO super featherweight title. I really, really hate that we're not just going to get to see Navarrete Foster for WBO and WBC unification. It seems like they were moving towards setting that one up until they weren't. We're hearing that Foster could fight Liam Wilson in the summer on No Limit, which just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know why. Top Rank is even being like, yeah, we'll do that. Top Rank is awful about they get them to the championships, and then they have them sit on the belt, fight okay opposition, and never unify. That's what it feels like we always see happen with Top Rank fighters, and I'm sick of it. So I really wanted to see Navarrete versus Foster, because Navarrete is going to destroy Suarez and Foster is going to destroy Wilson, and that's going to be that. I mean, I could be wrong, but I just see them as huge favorites in those fights. Why don't unify? That's a 50-50 fight. But it's whatever. I do think this card will happen. Navarrete fought in May in San Diego last year. That was against Dennis Berinchuk, which actually he lost. So we'll see what happens. But I don't mind this too much. I think they're okay fights. Murataya Abdullayev is a good fight, but and I like that they're on the same card. It's a doubleheader, but I don't know. I just really wanted to see Navarrete Foster. Callum Simpson versus Ivan Zuko is apparently looking like it could happen for this summer at Oakwell Stadium. I believe that's where Chelsea plays. I don't know, but I know that it is Simpson's hometown and his home football soccer team. But yeah, I think this is a good fight. They would fight for the European title, which is good because Simpson has fought for that British title a few times now in Commonwealth, and I think it's time for him to move on. Zuko is undefeated as well. He's 21-0 with 18 knockouts, so he's also a big puncher. That's a really good fight for Simpson. I've been waiting for them to get him in with someone really good, really, a bigger name, and this looks like it could be it. So I'm down with this fight. I'm down with this plan. I don't know why everything has to be the stadium show, but he also does sell a lot of tickets, and he's a fun fighter, so I don't mind this plan at all. And the last thing we'll talk about, the WBC have ordered Eduardo Rocky Hernandez versus Mark McSaya for an eliminator at 130 pounds. Again, I don't mind this fight at all. I think it's a good fight. My question is, how many eliminators does Rocky have to fight in? And I'm not even saying that, he needs to have fought for the world title. Like, when you look at the Eduardos that Matchroom has, the Mexican Eduardos, you've got Rocky and you've got Sugar. And I think that Sugar deserves it more, and he's finally getting it. I haven't been clamoring for Rocky to get that title shot, but he's just been kind of in pointless fights, honestly, for his last few fights. He had after the loss to Oshaki Foster, he fought, what's his name? Daniel Lugo. Or is it Nathan? No, excuse me. No, yeah, Daniel Lugo immediately after, and won that fight, and that fight was an eliminator. We heard it was a WBC final eliminator, which didn't make any sense to me at the time. I was like, okay, so he's mandatory to immediately have a rematch with Foster, and then he's had 2 other fights since then, which he's won. And now it's like, okay, they've had him as number 1 for so long. He has to fight another eliminator. Luckily, it looks like after this one, the winner will fight Oshaki Foster in a rematch with Foster versus Hernandez. So we'll see. But I think that's a really good fight, actually. That's not like all the other fights. That's not one that you just automatically give to Rocky. I think that's a close fight. It's a competitive one. And I think that makes sense for that. I think that makes sense as an eliminator for a world title. So, yeah, we'll see what happens there. I hope that's on a Matchroom show and not a PBC show, because knowing PBC, it'll be hopefully on the prelims. We don't even know if it'll be there. But yeah. So some good news today. I don't think that there's anything more to talk about. As for when my next episode will be, it'll either be Thursday night or like Friday midday or morning. We'll see. But yeah, I think that's probably going to be it for today's episode. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Follow me on X. Follow me on YouTube. Rate the podcast. I don't really know, but thanks for listening. I will talk again on probably Thursday or Friday. But yeah, thank you for listening. I've been Cash. This has been In the Corner, episode 28. Peace out.